And we're on. JP and Fearless Sloth, Joey Leveille.
Hey.
Thanks for being on the show again.
Thanks for having us, man.
Yeah.
So I thought we could start with JP Rowley. I didn't say your last name, did I?
It's all
good. I thought we could start with JP. You hit this pretty cool milestone with your daughter the other day. So will you tell us about that?
Yeah. Well, I have the very fortunate and blessed opportunity to lead my daughter in meditation practice when she's with me. Usually about, I guess 5 days a week. She's with me in the morning and we meditate. And she started out with, we did a practice where we started out with just taking breaths, and it turned into like 10 breaths, turned into been seated at the timer for a minute, et cetera, et cetera. And so recently, this past month or so, we got up to like the 45, near 50 mark. And I knew that it was available. I was like, if we can do this. And there were times actually where it was more difficult for me to sit. And I opened my eyes and she's still sitting there. This is not all the time, but still for 4 years old to be able to sit longer than her father.
Yeah, she's 4. It's amazing.
It's pretty impressive. So for me, it was a pretty miraculous moment, just because, again, with my personal lineage, nothing like that has ever happened before. So, we just did what we do usually in meditation, and, we got to 50 minutes, 55, and the hour, and, I talk a lot about meditation with other people who meditate. And I personally don't think that, I think that, there's a man named Sadhguru, and he is many people's teacher.
I like him.
Yeah. So my teacher, Dave Sims, who Joey is actually in, the teacher training
owner
program
of City
now.
Yoga.
Yeah.
Great guy.
Yeah.
Great guy.
Yeah. So his teacher is Sadhguru.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. And so Sadhguru, he gets in states where he meditates for 4 hours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, Dave told me a story about him and his 4-day meditation where he was on a mountaintop,
4 days.
Yeah. And so anyway, I don't think it's, what I say with that is, what I see is that it's the practice that matters. So, people hear that my daughter meditates for 1 hour and they're, overwhelmed and all that. But I know that meditation is an inward thing. And so, I think I know people, like there's a NFL player, I'm going to say your name, Anthony Haywood, who played for the Seattle Seahawks, and he lives here in Indianapolis now. And he talked about his meditation journey, and he said that he meditates for 6 minutes a day now. Now, he's been doing this for, 6 or 7 years.
Said 6 or 60?
6 minutes. 6 minutes.
Yeah.
But he's been meditating for 6 or 7 years nonstop. And he said that he's at the point now, and I don't know if his meditation practice was longer or not at points, but he said now he gets to the point where it's such a conditioned habit that he can get in that zone within 6 minutes.
Nice.
Receive everything he needs to receive.
Yeah. Be
open, and then go about his day in 6 minutes. Mm-hmm. So that's why I say with that story, it's amazing. I think that, like Sadhguru, right? I think the longer you go in meditation, the more you can hit those waves, the more you can gain that meditation endurance, which I feel for me is important. However, at the same time, like the time doesn't necessarily matter to receive the benefits of that longevity practice.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense to me, because I used to meditate. I do like the hour, sometimes more, and sometimes just like sit on the couch with my legs crossed for several hours. And sometimes I might like smoke a little weed first, or sometimes I would have Pink Floyd on, and I would just sit like that and just take off through the universe. But now I don't have a daily thing where I try to do a certain amount, but at the end of my classes that I teach, we'll meditate for 2 minutes. So at the end of strength and conditioning, we'll sit for 2 minutes, and I teach like Zen meditation. But if somebody else has their own, then they do whatever do whatever you want. If you don't know what to do, here's Zen meditation. Here's what I do. If you have your own thing, then that's cool. But there's definitely the benefit of going for a long time, and that way I'm not trying to like fool myself into I'm so enlightened I don't need to do an hour. I can do it in 2 minutes, JP. And if I sit, and then if I sit for an hour, start to get frustrated. I got things to do. Oh, this thing's popping in my mind, and so it does help to do. I think it's good to be able to do both, because we have these things that come up. We can tell ourselves these stories of I don't need to do longer anymore, but I think at least throwing those longer sessions in is definitely beneficial. And have someone, especially like your daughter, 4 years old, be able to just sit still for an hour.
That's crazy.
When a lot of kids, they can't sit still for a minute. So what is her reaction to it? Does she look forward to it? Does she fight you still?
It's like I said, it's one of those things that I believe is she's living at 4 years old. I see in a conditioned existence or patterns that are I'm a huge believer. That's it. I just believe in the power of our external environment.
Sure.
And so she likes things that her father likes, but she also likes things that the other 7 or 8 or 10 or 12 preschoolers like as well. And so is that meditation? No, of course not. So with that being said, she doesn't necessarily, I guess even for me, right? Like I love the benefits of meditation, but do I love when I'm not, when I am in meditation is still a thing for me, at least right now, where it takes effort. So for some, it may be a lot effortless. For me, it takes effort to sit down and meditate. So, right now she has no concept of effort. I do basketball drills with her, and that's another thing that's like so amazing to her to see at 4 years old. And so she's gaining this concept, so I don't think any child really, like, if they had a choice of playing with their toys, or coloring, would they want to sit and meditate, close their eyes and do that? I don't think so. Maybe there is some. I think that also these children are in a household where their mom and dad both meditate. They see meditation in their community, like in India, in these places. So she doesn't necessarily like it. Does she fight me? I think those words, the context of those words, fighting, like
resist, maybe is like.
Okay, there you go. That's the she fight me. No.
Sometimes there's striking involved, and sometimes
no, she never hits me now, but she's definitely she's getting less and less resistant to it. She's just so young, I don't know. She's just so young that everything is kind of a bit of a. There's just a learning process that happens. So, everything from, brushing her teeth to like now she's at a point to where I say, go brush your teeth. And she goes in and she brushes. And this is something that her mom, right, when I'm not with her, influences her and helps her do. So that's something that she receives help on as a universal thing. So with this meditation practice, it's not a universal thing. I'm the only person that's there. And so it's going to be more resistance to that. You know, I think it's a natural thing. So to answer your question, which my long-winded answer, no, she doesn't necessarily want to sit down, but the coolest thing always, there are points, multiple points. The first time is always the most amazing time. When she, whatever time it may be, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 25, even if it takes 30, when I hear her, I'm just like, God damn, excuse my language. That's just so beautiful. Because like kids just, that's not, even hearing that, that's just not something you hear, you know, that's perfect sync.
Yeah, if the microphone didn't pick it up just like that, you must explain the breath that you're talking about.
Oh, just a real subtle, I can't even really explain it. It's just like a soft.
Not really a Jaya breath, but
yeah,
but something like I don't know if that's how necessary that is, but like, is that kind of what you mean?
I mean, I think Ujjayi is an effort field, not completely effort field, but it's a more intentional breath.
Yeah.
This is like a
natural.
It's It's
like real rhythmic and just kind of soft.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's the zone, man.
Yeah.
It's the zone.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. When like learning from my jiu-jitsu teacher, who's like about 70 years old, and that's who I learned Zen meditation from. He's like, correct posture will allow correct breathing.
Mm-hmm.
So don't count your breaths. But if you're sitting upright, like if you're sitting, you're slouched, your heart doesn't have enough room, your lungs don't have enough room, your breathing's gonna be messed up. If you sit with good posture, everything has enough room, and then you'll naturally breathe right. And he said you'll get down to like 4 breaths per minute, maybe 3, maybe 2, maybe 1. And then we've all probably had that thing where it's like, oh my God, I haven't taken a breath in how long? And then you're like, you're like shocks you out of it, and then your brain, you know, kicks back into gear, and then everything starts firing again. But there's like these moments that are just like, whoa, how long have I been not breathing? And you know, you're fine. You're like better than fine, just like entering that state. So it's cool that at 4 years old, she's able to get there without she's able to get there without without like,
period.
Like that. Yeah. That's really cool. So like, what's your meditation style? Like, what do you tell her?
Yeah, well, it's an evolving practice for us. You know, there are so trigger, you know, can have a connotation of a bad thing. But in this context, I'm thinking of it in a good context. Trigger, we have these trigger words or key phrases. And so the main phrase is close your eyes, cross your legs, fingers and thumbs in Jhana Mudra. And we've talked about Jhana Mudra and stabilization and it being a context of feeling a sensation of coming back. You can have your blah, blah, blah. Lots of, like you said, lots of different ways to meditate. For this purpose, we use it as a regrounding tool. And so these key phrases, closing at 4 years old, closing your eyes, even at 3-year-old or 2 years old, maybe until however long it takes. These are key phrases that children, I feel like that are important in meditation and are important for children for focusing, honing that ability of focusing. So I'm closing my eyes, crossing my legs, and fingers and thumbs in Jhana Mudra. So sometimes I'll hear, I'm at the point now that I don't need to open my eyes, and I can just hear when she's not doing it. And so, you know, I'll say that again, and then I'll hear movement of her crossing her legs, or, you know, pulling her, you know, shoulders up, you know, and yeah, it's fun, man. It's pretty incredible. It's fun. It's always the post meditation phase. I feel like for everyone, right? That's that, you know, like I'm here, you know, like, and there's no stress. That is the most beautiful thing. And so with her, that is the most beautiful bonding tool of the father-daughter stress-free bond, the integration of like where we're at. So it's usually on our bed in the morning. So we're here in this room and we're out, and my body is just so relaxed. My mind's so relaxed. She's so relaxed. And we just really just enjoy being with each other. She gives me hugs. The last time we got out, she like was rubbing my head, like rubbing my back, scratching my back. And then we have that moment before, school time ensues and the lunch is getting ready and the other stuff begins to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool how it works. And like, so is she seeing like the benefits of it? Like, does she say anything like, this used to make me mad, but now I remember I just go back to my breathing or something like that? Is she's there yet?
She's not at that point yet. She's still, and I know other children that verbally, because I believe, and there's lots of different research in the sciences of what intellect means. And there's lots of research that says intellect can be different things, and the power of those levels in different individuals. So she is aware. Her levels of awareness are extremely high. Her speech ability, as far as communication, is not that high. It's not a bad thing. Again, Ella, if you're listening to this later on in life, again, it's not a bad thing. That's just where she is right now. So she is not in that completely being able to express herself and communicate very well just yet.
That's actually something that I think about a lot, because I don't think I do it either. Because I think like, okay, especially when I'm on the podcast, and I've been doing more shows by myself, and then most of the shows still have the guests, but I think like, how well can you say what you think? How well can you say how you feel? So like, you speak English. Well, there's words, some Sanskrit. So there's words in Sanskrit that do not have an English translation. So, and there's words like, so in Spanish, there's a couple different words for love. We only have one word. So they say love, it could mean a couple different things, or a couple different ways to say it. So I keep thinking of, well, how well, if you only speak English, so if you spoke every language that there was, isn't there still like something missing? Because what if there was another language that hasn't been? So like, how well can anybody really say what they think? And part of what like Jordan Peterson, he talks about what people think by talking. And so I come on the podcast, and it's like we each have like our script of,
right.
Like it's this play that's all written out. It's like, what do you want to talk about? You say it like, give like one or two sentences, and here's my thing. And then just let it fly, and then we explore these ideas. And it's interesting what comes out without like thinking it all through first. But just to be able to actually express yourself is very difficult. Bruce Lee said, truly expressing yourself honestly is very, very difficult. And he's like doing one finger push-ups and stuff. Like he can do that, but to express yourself honestly, that's difficult. It's an interesting concept, but it's cool that she's at least doing it, because things are happening that she doesn't have. They'll just be like normal to her and then she'll read the yoga book later on, like, yeah, I already know that. I got that already.
Yeah, we go through at the end. We recently, I don't know, past 3 months or so, we've been going through the chakras, saying that, Muladhara, we feel the ground under us, and then Svadhisthana, we feel the waters of life flowing, our creativity. In Manipur, we feel the fire of our will in our belly. In Anahata, we give and receive love freely and unconditionally. In Vishuddha, we communicate with ourselves and others. Ajna Chakra, we see beyond seeing. In Sahasrara Chakra, we are connected with God, with nature, and with this space. And so, is she going to be able to repeat that back to you right now, even after the 3 months? I don't think so. Maybe, maybe not. But these messages, which I believe are important, again, that I did not receive, and that helped me now that I have received them, and am still receiving them and still working with what that means for me, I think that's very, I can't say important, but I think that if you learn that stuff at a young age, to be able to go internally on all these different levels of yourself, I think that gives you an upper edge, you know? That's what I believe.
Yeah. Here's another model of the body that's not, you have your biology book, and then you have this other thing that's like, here's this other way of looking at things.
Yeah.
That, like, science has a real hard time with that, but you can approach it like kind of how you were saying, like these. So even if you have a hard time proving it scientifically, you can prove it like the philosophy of it. So as you're moving up, but it's also having them all like in balance or whatever. It's these different aspects of philosophy or psychology and behaviors, and then you can prove that so people can get that concept. Okay, I got what you're saying. Instead of be like, oh, there's this spinning wheel, and like, no, there's not. And then, but somebody else is like, I've been doing this for 20 years. Actually, there is. My experience of the chakras is a little bit different than what I read in the books. But it's cool for her to have like this other way of thinking that's not just in this box of, there's more than we can see. We know that, there's air, but I can't see the air. The oxygen, okay, how long ago was it the oxygen was discovered? It wasn't really that long ago in the grand scheme of things. That's cool that she's doing that. And then these things, like, my kids have surprised me with stuff that, like, at the time it doesn't seem like it's really getting through, and then they'll repeat it back to me later on. I'm like, okay, they are listening. They are picking up on this stuff.
That's feel nice.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to add on like what she's doing, or?
Well, no, I did want to say one thing. You're talking about expression, and I think the journey of going inward and the journey of how things unfold externally, like for yourself, I feel like that's important. I see how movement is part of the expression of ourselves. Like you said, we can only talk so much, right? We don't. There's a word in German. I'm pretty sure, I may be wrong, but it's Bas, B-A-S. And when people speak to each other, when the conversation is done, or that when they've understood enough and they're ready to move on to a topic, they say Bas. Like, you talking, and I say, oh, Bas. And then so okay, he understands me. We're ready to move on to the next subject. We don't have anything like that in English language.
Yeah.
And that causes a lot of confusion, like, where people are thinking, oh, is this guy done? And the guy's thinking, oh, did I talk enough? Did I not explain myself enough? And you're just like, boss.
So it's kind of like their way of saying, like, okay, I get it, without being like, but it's not rude.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is interesting. Like, those people like really understand. It's like the saying, like, we don't see people how they are, we see them how we are. And sometimes, like, when there's like recordings of like maybe a couple having a discussion and it's being recorded, then when they are shown the videotape by their marriage counselor or whatever, they're like, oh, I didn't know I said it like that. And they're surprised at what they look on. I mean, we were talking like before, like when we were setting up, make sure we can see like how much we've seen each other on video, because we're all doing our strength training videos and movement stuff. So we've seen videos of ourselves a lot, and I've heard, the podcasts, I've listened to them to, pick up different things that I can improve on. Like, it wasn't that long ago where it wasn't so common. So maybe there was a lot of people that are like, oh, I didn't know I came off that way. But when they see themselves, like, oh, I didn't know I gave that look, like when this guy's talking or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to think about like how people are actually perceiving us and how we come off. I had somebody on, she was a Kristen Babb. She's working on this documentary, Karma documentary, but Karma is a guide in Nepal. But anyway, she works for a dating agency, like where you go and you get, she interviews you, and so it's not just like an online thing. So it's like you go there and talk to her for like an hour or a few hours, like what you're looking for. And she's talking about how, people like write like, oh, my grandparents met on Tinder or something like that. And they think it's funny. She's like, maybe it was funny when the first guy said it, but it's not funny after you've read 30 of them and the way people like present themselves like on dating apps. And we've talked about that a little bit before too. Like what we try to present, how we present ourselves to other people and how they perceive it is two different things. Like something like businesses, like the business owner, like should not pick out the pictures for the website. He thinks he knows what the best ones are, but nobody else agrees with him. So it's like it's weird, and that's the thing. That's not like some obscure thing that I came up with, and I mean that's what pretty much everyone that like knows about this stuff says. Like the business owner is not good at his own marketing. It's a weird thing because he doesn't know how. Yeah, even though we all do that, but like for my website, like I had this friend of mine who was doing it, and she just like, oh, I'll get the pictures, and she's like showing me this picture, and it's like some other guy with a kettlebell that has chalk all over it, and she's like, you can't take a picture this good, and I'm looking at it like it's a kettlebell with chalk on it, but she knows way more about this stuff than me. I mean, I'm not even close. So it's I don't remember how we got on that subject. Oh, just expressing ourselves.
Yeah.
And how we come off.
And that's what I was saying with Joey. I feel like all of us, the way we exercise and the way we work out, is an expression of ourselves, like in the world that we can't like physically talk about. And, I just, it's the sloth, the fearless sloth, I just like, and then seeing how that plays out, and like, I've never seen anybody like do like the slow, pull out, come back, and I'm like, that's crazy. That's super amazing, super hard, but it's an expression too.
Yeah, it's just like a goofy, I thought it'd just kind of make people smile if I saw it on Instagram. Why I picked that one, but I was thinking about when you guys were talking earlier about the expression, like, a lot of times we can't like literally express what we want to convey. And that's like the tricky part about words is like there's so many of them to choose from, but even when you put them in a combination that literally conveys what you want, it often doesn't convey what you want. So like that's why I pick fearless sloth, because everyone knows I'm not a sloth and everyone knows I'm not fearless, but it still conveys the message that I'm trying to get across. Not like I put a lot of time into it. I was just like, that's a funny name. I can see myself clicking on that username. But just in everyday conversation, that same theme of how do I get this person to feel what I'm feeling? But feelings are like an entire different medium than words are, right?
Yeah.
One sounds and the other is like this complex chemical, spiritual reaction in your body. So I think it's just very interesting to try to convey what you're trying to say, because you have to kind of be an artist no matter who you are with your words. Yeah. Do you guys find like when you're in conversations, you hit that wall where you're trying to get an idea across? You're like, well, what do I do now? And I try to remember that when I hit that wall, like, hey, so the only way to get through the wall is to just like use my imagination to make this wall disappear. So like trying to figure out what the feeling is, and then using this kind of like horizontal thinking. Like I'm not just trying to literally get to the point. I'm trying to go a little more abstractly. And oftentimes your mind will just give you the right answer that you need to convey your point.
Yeah, that is cool that you bring that up. Like when I'm doing the shows by myself, and I guess to also when I'm talking with someone else and I don't do any editing, I rarely hit pause. And for some reason, all of the shows that are by myself are somewhere between like 55 and 58 minutes. And I'm not hitting the timer. I'm not trying to get it, but it's weird how it, anyways, like I was coming home from a friend of mine's the other night, and I was like, before I was like trying to come up with this idea for the podcast, I was thinking of like community and friends and stuff. But I didn't quite have it all together. And when I was at her place, she played Lucas Nelson, Willie Nelson's son.
Oh, okay.
Have you heard him?
I haven't heard him yet.
It's pretty cool. He plays like a little bit of Hendrix, but also he has his own thing. He doesn't sound like Willie, but he's a good guitar player and stuff. But she played this song, Hey Baby and Polygap by Jimi Hendrix that Lucas Nelson did. I was like, oh, that's cool. I like it. So on the way home, I looked him up on Spotify, and he played the most popular song was called Find Yourself. And it's like, you better find yourself before I find somebody else to be my love, or something like that. And it was like playing, I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I just have this like instant download. That's what the podcast is going to be. Even though it's like 10:30 or 11 o'clock almost, I'm going to go home and I'm going to record this podcast now, because I didn't have it figured out before then, but I just had to like this, here's this instant download. Like, here's this book. I give you the book all at once. I'm not giving you the book one word at a time. It's here's this book. And then so I get this book, and then I'm trying to explain it. So like about finding yourself. So we have like, you know, we're 20 years old and we're out of school and we're maybe going to this school. Like, what am I going to do? And we're trying to find ourselves. Maybe I need to go to India, find myself. But then it's like, but also like we find ourselves in these situations. Like, oh, we find ourselves here at this table talking into this. We find ourselves here in this situation. We find ourselves here in this. So I was like, it's trying to put all these different concepts of finding ourselves together. And I wanted to talk about like friends and stuff, and like what we've been doing, hanging out. And like for those of you in Indianapolis area, go to the Indie Strength and Movement Community Facebook page. And it's a bunch of us. There's 128 people in the group or something like that. We meet up at different parks and stuff, and do strength stuff and hang out in the woods. And but anyways,
super fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have a blast, and there's no kind of rigid structure or any kind of limitations or anything. So you just want to come out and move and learn. Everybody's good at different things.
Super fun.
It's just a blast to hang out.
Yeah. And if you do join, I know most people that are listening are not in the Indianapolis area, but if you do join the group, if you want to be, we have a Instagram messaging. So if you want to be invited to this stuff, feel free. You don't have to know any of us, because there was new people that came last time. I never met before. Joey brought somebody, then I knew a guy, but anyways, just join Indie Strength and Movement Community Facebook group, and just leave a post, and then we'll get to you. Get you in our messaging, and we're going to try to post more on the Facebook group so people know where we're going and what we're doing. What was I saying? Oh, so I find like these concepts of explaining ourselves, and so like I don't have it all written out, but then I come home and I have like a few books that I like to read from: Khalil Gibran, Rumi, Kabir, and I'm trying to dig into Tagore, and I know there's something there, but I haven't quite got to it yet. And I read a lot of like Grateful Dead lyrics. So I get home, I'm like, okay, I'm going to talk about like friends and stuff. So I open up the Rumi book, and it's right to this thing about friends, childhood friends. And it's like 3 or 4 poems about friends. And there's like 300 pages in this book. I just happened to turn it right to the ones that fit. And then I'm looking up Khalil Gibran, and there's a thing about friends. And I'm looking at and these are big books, and it takes me just a minute, not even a minute, to find exactly what I'm looking for to explain the concepts that I have in my mind. But these poets from hundreds of years ago, Rumi lived 700, 800 years ago. And it's like, there it is, or these like Grateful Dead lyrics and stuff that like explains perfectly, even something that was like, I was explaining like, okay, I have like my job. I go there from 5 a.m. to 1. It's not my passion. I don't like waking up that early, but I do it. And then it allows me to be able to do, then I can be the trainer that I want to be. I can do classes the way I want. I don't have to sweat the money, and it all comes together. And so like the Grateful Dead, which is this, this hippie band, and I'm looking through the lyrics, and it's like talking about working your 8-hour job, your 8-hour a day. And it's just like this very practical, very ungrateful dead kind of song. And so I'm like reading it. And so it's interesting that like you're saying, like we just kind of like find, we end up finding what we're looking for. So I skim through these books, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of pages, and it takes me just, sometimes I spend more time, but it's just funny how I'm trying to find something about Friends, turn right to it. And I hadn't read that stuff before. Yeah. So it's cool to try to put these concepts together to explain like what it is we have in our mind. I think that's one of the reasons why podcasts are growing like crazy. And it's just because people can like listen to us, and they're kind of part of the conversation also. So you'll say something, or JP will say something. I'm like, oh, I haven't thought about it like that. That's cool. 4 years old, he's hitting an hour meditation with his daughter, and he started with just a couple breaths. I'm going to go home and I'm going to breathe 3 times with my daughter and see what happens. And
do it.
So it's cool because it's like I can listen to Joe Rogan podcast for 2 hours.
Sure.
But you put a movie on.
Yeah.
And 20 minutes in, I'm messing with my phone. Yeah.
Well, so it's interesting to me. So this whole concept is fitness and consciousness, right? Fitness and consciousness. And, I think I've told you before that, in part of my meditation experience, part of it is the letting go and all that. Part of it is I envision, whether this is real or not, I envision an ancient man or a grandfather, and he has a staff, and so fitness and consciousness. So this whole thing is about consciousness, right? Like consciousness and consciousness coming back and karma. So it's just always interesting to me. Like I am getting into all this stuff now, about 3 or 4 years ago. Right. And this stuff has been going on for thousands of 10,000, 20,000 years. Human beings dying, and then new human beings being born, and the stories seeming to play themselves out again.
Yes.
In different time periods. The same type
things.
Of stories. Even if they're not exactly similar, the similarities are pretty freaky sometimes. So, we're all here together. Right? Like I'm like, my personal story is always so interesting to me because, this is just so like far out to me. Like when I say far out, like it's just so, what if in a past period, right? What if we are a reincarnation of a different period or a different life, right? And so like there is a person like you, like you're able to feel energy, you're able to send energy, you're having these experiences, you're an open vessel to different things. And so what if there was somebody like that before you? Like what if that was like 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago? And what if that person met somebody else who was open in a vessel, right? Yes. Who did things a certain way, who was free, a nature man that moved, and then then that person, those 3 guys met together. Now I know I'm getting far out here, but what if? That's very interesting. Like we're here at this point in time, and like I said, I don't know about you guys, but I'm like, this is far out to me. Like sitting here with you guys, like it's
yeah, it's all pretty bizarre.
You, Joey, but seriously, you, Joey, I saw you from Instagram, right? And Instagram, this social media thing. So I'm able to help my daughter. I'm able to go past boundaries, perceived boundaries of what it is being an African American here in Indianapolis and jumping in rivers.
Yeah,
people I grew up say that shit's crazy. I mean, seriously, but that overcoming that fear helps my daughter with her life of fear. And so there's something to that energy there of you helping me, even though I had no idea who you are. We're sitting here having tea. There's something about Ryan, right? I'm trying to be in this bodybuilding. I am going to compete in this bodybuilding contest. And I'm at 310 pounds. I'm trying to get over 315. I've seen you in there for a while on the ground, pushing up from the ground. I've seen other people do that. Yet I'm at 310. I'm trying to get just 5 pounds more. And I never did that until last time where I saw you doing it on the ground. Just that time energy after we hung out, after I had more of an experience with you together, more of a friendship with you. And I said, you know, like, let me try this out after I'm done. And I know that as I get stronger in that movement, I'm going to hit this 315. And what if that leads to something else for me? What if that leads something else for all of us sitting here? Anyway, it's just, I don't know, what if this has all happened before? Even if it's not exactly this. What if we're doing this before? Fitness and consciousness. That's all I'm saying, man.
Yeah, yeah, it's cool. Like seeing, like being out in the woods, and then see like Joey. You know, it's not like we have like this, you know, like workout plan. We're going to go out in the woods and we're going to jump from this log to that log, and then we're going to climb this tree this way. You know, we go out and then it's like everybody's kind of like just standing around like, this rock is cool. Let's lift this rock. Or
you were the only person that could lift that rock.
And then Joey's doing like some kind of climbing thing, and like, so I lift the rock first, and then other people are lifting the rock their own way, and then like see Joey doing something like, oh, I want to do that too. And it's like unlocking these different like skills, like these different.
Yeah, you're right. Actually,
it's like
it's like we all have permission to play, you know.
Yeah.
And, I like it at the very beginning. Everyone's like, in my mind, what everyone is kind of getting ready for is that moment when they feel like they have permission. Like everyone's standing in a circle, and maybe somebody starts like stretching a little or bending their spine, and everyone's like, okay, I think I have permission now. And someone starts moving a little bit more. I just enjoy that process and enjoy like creating an atmosphere where everyone's like, all right, like the flip is switched. And or the switch is flipped. And everyone can just go and do their thing. And like, it's interesting how other people have different styles. And even like after we move together, maybe like a couple weeks later, if I go to pick up like a log or something, I remember the styles of the people I was just picking up logs with. We were all picking up those big logs, getting them on our shoulders and trying to do squats or what have you. Like now, every time I pick up a log, you know, there's just little, I almost imagine being back there in that moment, and it helps my brain. You know, it's like an extra boost of energy. Because I had an extra boost of energy when there's 3 other guys next to me picking up.
It's like inspiring to see other people in like this group that we have that's growing. Like you're saying, like everybody's different. So I'm not trying to like outdo you. I wouldn't be able to. I'm just trying to like, you do something like, okay, I want to do that too. And then I see you're jumping and you're however high that tree that fell, and you jump from like one where the trunk divides, and you jump from one. Like, I don't really want to do that. I don't really want to do that.
That's amazing.
I mean, if it was on the ground, if it was like not such a drop off, that's no big deal. So like, why is it such a big deal if it's just because it's up high? Because I could easily jump from one thing to the other. I could do it if it was probably twice as far. But I still have no interest right now. And maybe there'll be a time when I just go up to it, I don't think about it, and I just, okay, well, what's the big deal? But there is the risk, because like one little oop,
Yeah.
you know, a little piece of bark slides off, and then you fall.
And
something
you know
like
what's
that.
weird about that is like a lot of people think like I don't know. I think a lot of people don't put two and two together about why that's hard. Like, because what happens is when you get out there, like, and your body perceives the very real possibility of injury or death, it like gives you more power in some ways, and you notice that, you become aware of that, and so when you go to jump, even if it's a small jump, you actually have more power. And that almost freaked you out because it's a different calculation for your body to perform under that much more power. So it's kind of interesting because if you spend like a lot of time like up in a tree or something like that, you'll notice that like your pulling strength when you're high up is definitely more. Like I remember I could hang from one arm when I was like maybe 30 or 40 feet up, and on the ground I couldn't. And that's because my body doesn't want to die. I don't want to die. So my body will give me extra power. So if you can learn to like get used to that feeling of like, hey, this is what's really going on. When I make this jump, the real danger is me overshooting it because my legs are just charged right now. And they have so much energy to spare. So like one thing I like about moving with these other people, and the energy is so high the whole time, we might spend like 2 hours in a higher energy state than I entered all week. And so over the course of those 2 hours, I get used to that feeling and adapt to it. And then later on in the week, maybe I find it again and it's comfortable and I know how to operate under those conditions.
Yeah. Where are you, where are you getting that information from? Is that like Vito Portal stuff? It sounds like a Vito Portal thing.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Or just your own
a lot
experience?
of it's just my own thoughts. I know that there's like actual studies on like nervous recruitment when you're higher up. Like rope climbs and stuff. I think have been studied because like when you do a rope climb, it's like a lot of like half pull-ups essentially. So it's like, you know, a lot of times when you get higher up the rope, you can keep doing pull-ups when on the ground you would have just fatigued down.
Yeah, like have you seen the video, that guy that was on the hang glider and with someone else, and then he realized he wasn't strapped to the other guy?
Yes.
So he is like, they're way up, and he is just like hanging on. He thought he was strapped in, and it wasn't until it was too late that they realized he wasn't. So like I don't know if it was the instructor or whoever it was that was strapped in. You see him like trying to like grab onto him with his legs, but he can't quite do that. And so this dude is just like hanging on, flying hundreds of feet up. Like,
and it was just like his left arm too, and then his right arm was grabbing like the pants or the backpack or something. So like most of the weight was on his left arm, which we can probably say is not his dominant arm. And he was just hanging like that for like 2 minutes. I looked at the time. Crazy, man.
And he lived?
Yeah.
Everything was okay?
He lived, but he definitely tore his bicep and had a couple other things. Because, you know, your body can push past those limits. So he pushed past those limits. And, oh, man, when you watch the end of the video, he eats it.
Oh, dang.
He comes up and he just slams down. I mean, he must have been struggling to hold on to the last second, I'm sure. So he might have called it a little early when he let go.
Wow. Yeah, it's pretty amazing what people can do. Or you hear like the grandma lifting up the car off of her grandson or something like that. Like these crazy feats of strength. Yeah, he's like way up there, and a 2-minute hang isn't like super crazy, but it's pretty good. It's pretty damn good.
With one arm?
With 2 arms.
Two arms.
One arm's great.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, but it's not like super crazy. In our world, it's not a crazy feat. But to be up that high and under that, like
the pressure, wind pressure.
Flying. That's and it's probably a pretty thick grip.
Yeah, I did look kind of thick.
Yeah,
I don't know what he's used to, if he's used to anything. I mean, who knows if that guy even goes to the gym. He could have been a dude who's totally untrained, and the body is still so powerful, it might just save him anyway. Yeah, it's weird how much reserve we have. It's like if we contract our muscles hard enough, we just snap our bones.
Right.
Like when we get struck by lightning, you know, like our muscles fire it so much more than like what
Whew.
we
Yeah, it's all
can
about like
voluntarily
getting tough enough that you can charge that energy through without destroying yourself.
Yeah.
That's how I feel like a lot of the training is just like conditioning to make the vessel like a better container of energy. Because like one way of looking at it is like if you're lifting a heavy weight and something snaps, it's like, will the energy start to fill your body? It started to distribute the stress over many different joints and muscles. And then if there's some parts that cannot be filled with X amount of energy, well, that's the part that's going to explode.
Yeah, for sure. That's why I'm going to take a little side dip here, but since it is fitness as well as consciousness and energy, I do feel like one of the things I don't see enough, and with you guys, I see it 1,000%, but for 1,000% in the world of basketball, at least here, again, in Indianapolis, Indiana, and then with weightlifting as well, on an average. This is not at the elite level. At the elite level, they do understand this. But it's yoga, is stretching and breathing. Stretching and breathing. Stretching and breathing.
And
when you're starting to, feel that energy in your body, when you're starting to feel the tense and the little fatigue, it's taking that time. Like I do that now 1,000%. And I just, anyway, what you're saying just about energy, like there are times where like when I'm lifting, whatever I had, 400 pounds, I still am not going into near a chair with that amount of weight, but I'm going down, and I did 10 times for the first time, even like a quarter way. But I was feeling that vacuum. I was feeling that there was a part of my body that was not engaging. And I was like, okay, so this is the time to go. Downward dog, upward dog, pigeon pose. Take a minute before I go back into it again. And I went back into it again, but I see people that they just go and keep going immediately. And then it seems like what happens is they find injury, and then injury leads them to saying, well, I can't do this anymore because I was injured.
Yeah, squats are bad for my knees kind of thing, like that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Stuff like that. And anyway, I said that because I feel like if that was implemented more, stretching and yoga, there would be there would be more of an attunement into like your body and injury prevention.
Oh yeah.
And allowing you to come back.
Are you talking about in between sets?
Yeah, I'm talking about in between maybe sets, maybe exercises. I guess it depends on like what you qualify as a set. If you're talking about just doing one squat, or you doing a set is like a squat and then this other squat and then a calf raise and then so I guess that would depend on like how much you're doing, where your body is at, your level of fitness is. But taking that time,
make sure everything is good.
Whatever that may mean.
That's missing. Man.
Yeah, there's have you heard of Original Strength?
No.
It's it's Jeff Newport and I can't remember, but there's like in between sets you do like these resets, and it might be putting your head up and down, and then your presses will be better from one to the other, or maybe it's doing like kind of like a cat cow or something like that in between something else. But there's all these different ones that like, okay, if we do this in between sets of presses, this in between sets of squats, then it's better. So that's what it reminded me of. It sounded like you kind of like figure that out on your own if you do these different things, up dog, down dog, in between squats. You find you can lock it all in better. That's what you're...
I mean, but more of it is more of like a relaxation technique. Like I feel like more than anything, like I feel like the go, what this lifting weight mentality, or like I said, even in basketball, in between, games, stretching, taking time to do, Janu Shirshasana. You have your head, or trying to bring your nose down to your leg, or open wide leg splits and stuff like that. It just like, there's a lot of the science again about sending oxygen, to these parts of the bodies that become deprived, with the nervous system, the veins and capillaries and everything get tight. So it makes, again, there's science to all of it, makes sense. But I guess in like a layman's term or everyday term, it's like you're opening your body and you're relaxing. So then when you get back on there, you'll have more energy. It's just like, basically, I mean, that just like makes sense to me, at least.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I guess obviously you probably don't go like super deep and super hard for a long period of time. It's like different, right?
Of course.
I know like there's a lot of people who are like, never passively stretch, before you blah 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 blah. When really, like, the body's not so fragile, and if you know how to just go into the right amount of stretch in between, it can make a huge difference. Like when you do an overhead press. So set one, you do your press. Okay, cool. Maybe I'll do like a passive hang from a bar, and then I'll do my next set. And then you go to do your next set, your arm is filled with blood from the first set, and you've opened up the position even better. Maybe it goes up a little easier than the first set, just because you did that extra passive stretch. And also, you just help keep everything stable by spending some time in that traction, and also just working on your grip strength. I mean, if you're going to be pressing against something, you're working that kind of grip strength, right? You have to activate through the fingers. It's only going to help you. And I think a lot of people just think it's a distraction from the workout. But that's because they're like hyper focused. They got like that tunnel vision where they're like, how do I maximize this muscle? How do I how do I be the very best, instead of just thinking like, what's this experience like? Maybe a little stretching here would maximize my experience.
I like that, maximizing the experience. I like that.
Who cares about the weight?
Do you do much stretching? Because I found myself doing lately for a while. Like, I had like these injuries that like set me back, so I was just doing, like, I used to write down every set, every rep, and then sometimes I would like go out and like just take my kettlebells outside and not keep track of anything, just play around, throw them, and do stuff. But like for the last year or so, I haven't been writing anything down because I'm always like working around some kind of injury. But I haven't really been doing like the same like warm up routine that I was doing before. So if I'm going to be doing like squats and presses, well, I'll just, if I'm using a bar, I just use the 45-pound bar, and I'll do like maybe 20 squats, to get warmed up. And then I'll add, maybe the 25s on. So then I'm 95, and then start like my sets of 5. So that's easy. And then go up. But so my warm up is the same as the workout. So then I go to my presses. So if it's doing like the floor presses, start off with just, put the 135 on and do however many, and then start adding from there. But so I'm not like stretching out my pecs first, and then like, or do you have like a warm up routine that you're doing, or do you just kind of get right to your?
That's a good question. Definitely have different warm ups that I do. Some of them are just like spinal protocols. I usually start with the spine no matter what, in some form or fashion. But I'm a big fan, like just like having a lot of like routines to pick from, where there's some structure, and then every routine has built-in room for improvisation, because the needs of that day are going to determine like what I did the day before, of course, and what I'm about to do. But also, what am I like feeling in the moment? Like sometimes I'll just do the whole warm up on the floor, and I'll just start with one part of my spine, move another part of the spine, move. So it's like a bit of a reaction mechanism. Like, wow, when I gyrate my hips on the floor, it's really, I feel the glitchiness, blah, blah, blah. It's like rusty and crusty. So I have to smooth it out with a few extra repetitions in this one area of the body. Or maybe sometimes it's functionally specific. So if I know I'm about to rope climb, I'm probably gonna like do a hip hinge and do some shoulder activations, so my scapula are in place properly. Or like if I'm about to do jumping, I better prep my joints for the explosive nature. And that doesn't just mean staying in alignment and doing like 10 squats. That means like putting myself a little bit out of alignment this way or that way in all directions, so that the knees, hips, and ankles are ready. And also so that I know how they're doing today. What if I push my knees valgus a little bit and they can't even take the slightest amount of valgus before it starts to be painful? I need to do a little bit more work before I start jumping, because they're probably going to go valgus at some point, at least a little bit.
Now, what is valgus? I've heard that before.
That's like where the knees go in. So like a lot of times, like people, if they haven't been trained to squat or something, then as they go down, they let the knees collapse instead of pushing them out to the sides, like towards the pinky toe or something. So it can be dangerous to have excessive loading there.
Yeah, for sure.
But if you like prep it just a little bit, because like every time you take a turn while in a run, you're putting some pressure on the inside of the knee, right? Yeah. If you're turning, you're definitely, any kind of tight turn is going to be putting these different forces on the medial and the lateral aspect. So if I'm going to be jumping and running, I know I'm going to turn at some point, so I better deviate my load in the warm-up. Otherwise, I've prepared for like this one little perfect spot of my joints to be affected, and the whole rest of the joint, all the edges, are completely unprepared, and I don't even know what's going on in there because I haven't interacted with them. Do you guys ever do any like joint prep like that? Like maybe, we'll take care of my elbow before I press or something by doing some circles and cleaning up the joint?
Yeah, my regular routine, like I would start with like my hands like clasped behind my back, and then that puts my shoulders in better position, and then neck circles, and then looking left to right, and the whole time I'm trying to touch like the back, top back of my head to the ceiling, and letting my tailbone drop down with gravity. So I'm just trying to like scrape my head on the ceiling, and then ear to shoulder, and then up and down. And so I'll do like 10 times each way. And then I go into shoulder circle, 10 times each way, as much as and then trunk twist, and then hips, like going like hip circles, 10 each way, and then down to the knees, like knee circles. So I'm taking them like outside of this. So like it's coming in like from valgus, and then I don't remember what it's called when it goes to the outside, but and then like putting the knees together, and then like pushing them like to the left a few times, to the right a few times. So it's like it's not good form if you're under like an additional load, that kind of stuff. And then ankles, and then do like some like Cossack kind of squats and stuff. Cool. So that's how I would pretty much do that. And then like I have also like this philosophy of like, we should also be training to be ready without a warm-up. So like, what if something happens right now, I have to fight somebody. I can't be like, oh, hold on a minute, I got to warm up my hips first. I'm not going to be able to kick very high. I don't want to kick you in the head, and I need to stretch out a bit first. I just need to be able to bam, kick him in the head.
Sure.
So like be prepared pretty much all of the time. So that's kind of like a Pavel Sadsuwan thing also, is like you could do like your mobility routine in the morning, do it like every day, and then like you're prepared for like, you should be prepared for whatever happens. Not that you should just like walk in, but I'm going to do my max squat right now, and then load up more weight than you've ever done before, and then hope it goes well.
Sure.
But there should be some level of readiness without so much preparation, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's kind
Yeah.
of like both. So like my answer is like yes, I think it's good to do this stuff, and then also, going into the squats, well, I'll start off with just the bar.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
or maybe even just like body weight. If I'm using kettlebells, I'll use one of the kettlebells, and then I add the second bell, and then whatever, like the weight vest, something like that. What do you do, JP?
It's just so interesting listening to you guys because I'm very aware right now that, we all have different vibrations, under this big, huge thing that is human body movement. And so so my whole thing right now is mainly I do personal training and I'm able to help clients at SoBeFit. But my big thing is basketball. That's where I come from. That's what I know about the most as far as going to a higher level there. And then also bodybuilding. And so again, those are two different things. Basketball and weightlifting are two different things too. And so I find myself sometimes getting a little bit of trouble when I try and do both of those things. When it's the demands of lifting more than you've ever done and trying to go out and play a couple hours of basketball. It's not a very smart idea for any human to really do. So, but under both of those different things, if you're doing one, if you're going out and playing basketball, for 2 hours, or you're strength training for 2 hours. Both of those for me, a warm up is always the best way to go. Again, it's not fighting, and but there's just so many ways to move that they say variety is the spice of life, right?
Sure.
That's what they say. Variety is the spice of life. And with cooking, that's delicious. And the same thing, it's I look at these basketball players, right now it's James Harden is one of the big names, Steph Curry, LeBron James. And when I look at all these three guys, they have different approaches. There are some similar moves that they make, but they have different approaches. James Harden and Steph Curry in particularly are they have a very free style. They are, it's interesting to watch because those guys are they are more prolific scorers right now than LeBron James. Getting kind of off topic here, I feel like, but just their warm-ups. They do ankles, all that, but for the basketball, their warm-ups are just doing crazy stuff. Steph Curry, he's got his hands up and someone hits him the basketball. He volleyballs plays it.
Really?
Or he acts like it's a golf club and he hits it. And these are things that loosen up his body. That he has fun with it, and then he goes out and drops 50 points or something like that. James Harden, the same thing, where someone throws him a ball, and I'm getting away from the camera, but he would do, traditionally you would do a step back or something like that. He would have the ball and then dribble it over this way, then dribble it that way, then dribble it in between really high, then dribble low, and then shoot. And all this stuff, that's not traditionally just shoot, shoot. And you would think that, it's variety. That's all I'm saying with that. So with the weightlifting thing, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Franco Columbu, I don't know if you guys know their names there.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so
Arnold.
But they talk a lot about the same thing, about variety in lifting, about variety in warm-up styles.
Sure.
So I think that for me, it's all about having an established routine. And that routine for me looks like, I drop my daughter off at school and then, I hop in the hot shower for 5 minutes. and then I come out and my body is exposed to this cool air, and it does something psychologically, does something energetically to where I'm refreshed after I've done, training with my daughter for like 45 minutes. And then I'm ready for my own thing. And then ankle stretches, blah, blah, blah. But I feel like it's more of like getting my body to like understand a routine, that this is the routine, it's preparing it more than anything in the actual program.
Yeah, there is something about like whether I forget that I didn't know a couple of those basketball players that you were naming. I know who LeBron James is. Like when he's messing around with like a volleyball, it's probably not like there's a lot of sports scientists like, oh yes, this is exactly what you should do now. It's like, he probably doesn't need, so like some of it's probably just like he doesn't really need to do much. He just needs like kind of like loosen up and get ready without it being like, here's exactly how you loosen up and get ready. It's like just like before I do the show, get the coffee going, got the tea. All right, about to record, get the incense, incense going, and like to get ready. So I like to have the incense going. I like to have the coffee. So what does the coffee do? Well, it's not like it's almost like it just helps me to be like ready. So I can, I'm like sip on the coffee, but there's like just something about what's the word I'm trying to think of, like religions do it and stuff like that.
I feel like habits come to mind.
Yeah,
like
proselytize?
No, it's such an easy word. I just can't think of it right now. Ritual.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like I just have like this ritual. Okay, get the coffee ready, and then like when the coffee is like I use a French press. Like when the coffee's getting ready, I might get the microphone set up. I got my whatever I'm going to be reading ready. Get the incense going, and then I'll just kind of like set the mood for like what I'm about to do. Because then just let it fly. So maybe there's not a lot of real good science behind his hitting the basketball like a volleyball, although you could probably like make some up. But just like this ritual, this is how I do it. We're getting ready to play a game. It's not that serious. Yeah, there's millions of dollars on the line, but if it's like there's millions of dollars on the line, it's like, oh my God, then you're like frozen up. You can't do anything. Millions of dollars, oh my God, my contract. Oh, you can't be thinking about that. It's just a game. So whether it's like the playoffs, the finals, or the first game of the season, I think if they go, like it's just another game. Stay loose. If that pressure can also help. But I guess my point is like that, just that kind of the ritual of being ready.
Yeah. If you look at his eyes, though, he's focused, man. When he's hitting that like a volleyball, he's really focused on hitting that basketball like a volleyball and getting it up. So I feel like, the like you said, being able to mix it up, like I said, for my own growth, not just from a weightlifting thing, but from a life thing, like hanging out with you guys, going tight roping across trees on rivers and stuff. Like this is like variety really is the spice of my life, So like, wouldn't that apply to like as a profession with something that you love? There's a lot of research, and again, I know you guys have seen this type of work. There's a lot of research with high-level CEOs and high-level persons performing that have businesses and multi-million or billion-dollar corporations have these rituals. They get up at 5 or 6 a.m. that have their tea or coffee, and then have their reading and looks at what these patterns, these established patterns. It seems like if you just like, there's creativity for sure, but there's like a structured creativity. If there's just like, if you don't know what you're doing or where you're going, it's just chaos. It just doesn't seem like, for human beings, just seems like it doesn't end very well.
Yeah. So maybe that's like something that needs to be built into every warm up. It's like this element of like playfulness.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of interesting how like you can be serious and playful at the same time like that. Like you're talking about, like he just looks like he's goofily like knocking a volleyball around. But like when he does like the high bounces and the low bounces and he's twisting and hitting a ball, like I'm sure that there's no way you could do that the same every time.
Yeah.
And that's part of the playfulness is like, you notice like there's this element of chaos that's going to come in a basketball game.
Hey.
And one of the best ways to meet that chaos instead of, oh shit, I don't know what's going to happen, is to instead just be like, wow, like I'm going to have fun and just like, and get in this playful mindset while also staying really focused. And that like is just something I see coming up again and again, like the best like fighters, right? They're not too rigid.
Mm-hmm.
And their lifestyles outside the ring are also the same way, where there's a little bit of chaos in there, and they just have this like relationship with chaos of like, I'm just a player in this game, and that's fun. A little chaos is fun. And in the warm up, I think that's like something that everyone should do a little bit of. Like, okay, like let's say you're doing something you've done 1,000 times in your warm up, like arm circles. People always do arm circles. Just like changing the plane, or like combining planes behind the back, in front, overhead, or like, okay, now I got this pattern. What if I just do this pattern a bunch of times in a row? Or like closing your eyes while you're in some kind of stretch or something like that, or maybe varying the way that you're breathing. Like, you know that you're about to get amped up, man. So maybe pulling a little more oxygen, maybe the breath is a little quicker. Maybe I'm going out through the mouth. But just like allowing this flexibility in your training, and that leading to like this preparation for chaos. Yeah. You guys ever think about that? Like, it's kind of scary sometimes, right? If you're gonna play basketball, I know that intimidates me a lot, because you don't know what other people's abilities are, and you don't know how physical they're gonna be. Some people are gonna try to knock you down, or some people are just gonna like give you a lot of space. You don't know.
Yeah, for me, I'm to the point now. Like I said, I noticed the last time I played basketball with some guys. I'm to the point now where like the truth is I'm so physically strong that you know, it's just all about having fun for me.
Nice.
You know, I used to be you know, got like one of the things about like kind of in yoga, right, and this whole spirituality is knowing yourself, you know, through meditation, through these practices, learning who you are. So that is transferred over to me in basketball. I can score, you know, I can score, but my big thing is, you know, I like to have fun, and the easiest thing for me is rebounds. You know, so we played 3 games. I got 7 rebounds each game. You know, that's 21 rebounds. And even if I didn't score a point, when I looked at all the other people that were taller than me, people that physically had more girth or weight than me, people that scored more points than me, nobody had anywhere near 7 rebounds a game. And it's something where, like, you know, a guy was like, you know, JP, you know, blah, 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 this. Maybe you should have passed the ball. Maybe you should have done this. And I'm like, hey, I got 7 rebounds each time that I did this. No one else did that. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah, man.
And it was fun. Like, there's, like, again, you know, there's a big thing with, you know, these guys. Some guys, they, you know, they made it to the D League, or it's the G League now. Some guys played in college, so they're really, you know, they're really like, this is life. We are warriors. This is the end. And you know, if you do something to mess up the game, it's over. You know, and I'm just kind of like, it's just fun, man. It's fun. I'm just out there having a good time. And so it's like, you know, there was a couple times where a guy gave me like a bump to create space, and I noticed that I just let him do that, let him score the point. I mean, maybe if I wanted to be more aggressive, you know, I could have stopped him. You know, if I wanted to go, when I got those 7 rebounds, if I wanted to immediately go up, which is where I would think in the past, I could have got an easy, you know, 14 points a game. I didn't do that. I passed it out to teammates. It's just, I did that. You know, that's part of like knowing who it is. Again, like, you know, this is a game for me. This is fun. I'm here. I'm out. I'm fellowshipping with the guys. I'm having a community experience. Right. I also have, you know, I'm also in working out to train for actual like bodybuilding competition. My that is more on the list than like basketball right now.
Yeah.
So that whole concept of like knowing yourself, the chaos though, that's what I would say about because I am training for this bodybuilding competition.
Yeah.
It is an element of chaos to me going out there and like,
Yeah.
potentially injuring myself and all that stuff. And, I find that with weightlifting, sometimes I put, not yet 400, I think it was 395, 385 on the bench press that I put over my chest. And like, I felt like my back shoulders were going to go out. There was no spots around or anything.
Oh man.
And that's what I was saying with the element of chaos. There is, but I try and make that, to try and like that element is not as much as I am safe and practical. I know my body and limits, but there is an element of chaos there.
Yeah, you can do that in the squat rack. People like die from bench pressing,
Oh,
or like not bench pressing,
Okay.
rather than.
Listen, don't listen to JP.
You can put like, or at least like don't put collars on the bar. So I did that once. I was doing like a max attempt. This is when I was like 20. I had 265 on the bar, and I pressed it up and it went pretty easily. But when I started to angle it back too soon, and so it went underneath the rack, and so I had like 265, and it's like, okay, because it wasn't so hard to put it up, but to like bring it down a little bit, bring it forward again, like it was like jammed up. But so I was like trying to put it on like the lower ones, which is pretty difficult. So I tried, but then like I just let like one side fall off, and then the bar like flies up the other way because there was nobody else at the gym at the time.
Yeah, it's scary.
And it's like, okay, I'll either do it in the squat rack and set my safety, or use dumbbells, or make sure you have a spotter or the floor press. It takes that away too, because as long as you have the 45s on, it's going to be up high enough. So if you need to drop it, you can just turn your head and it's not going to hit your face. But there's been a lot of high school gyms where the coach walks in and there's a dead kid there.
Woo. Yeah.
Because the bench with the bar over his neck and just it's weird what can happen. Stuff can tear, pec tear, something weird can happen.
Sure.
It's like
it's so annoying when you go to like a lot of like public workout centers and like hotels or in apartment complexes or something. They don't have any of the good stuff because it's all like, that's why they don't have barbells, they don't have dumbbells, because like they don't like trust you enough to like do these stabilization kind of exercises. That's why everything's like in a groove or a spot, on a pulley, on a string.
And again, like you said, everyone here has been doing this 5-10 years or more, so we are definitely more like professionals than like the average person. I would not suggest the average person do any of this stuff without a support or any of it, period. So disclaimer.
I started as a trainer in 1999.
Jeez,
that was like the last millennium.
That's awesome.
Weird.
That's awesome.
Joey, what were you said you wanted to talk about depression and something like that. What were you talking?
It kind of ties into what we were talking about before about just like being creative and learning how to improvise a little bit, because like a lot of people, they don't understand like this relationship between when you're feeling real depressed and being creative. Like they seem like they're just different things. But like if you've ever had like chronic depression before, then you know that like one of the like effects is you just don't feel like doing anything, and like even in conversations and stuff, like the last thing you're gonna be is creative or put forth a lot of energy, or do things. Like you're probably not gonna like bake a cake if you're super depressed, right? You're not gonna create anything. And I just thought it was an interesting topic because I think it's a way of like redirecting yourself. If you say, hey, like I feel depressed, I don't want to be creative, but if I allow myself to be a little creative, then maybe I can start to loosen the hold on my mind. So just like personally, I found that I'm feeling really down, then I try to be creative in some way. And these ways can be like instantly accessible. Those are the best. So like through the body a lot of the time, because you already have your body with you. It doesn't matter where you are. So sometimes it's just talking. Like I'll just start talking and just keep talking. It's not going to take very long before you're basically having to improvise because you didn't prepare anything. So it's like a guaranteed way of like running into this creativity wall and then dissolving it just by creating this rule. Okay, I'm going to keep talking. Another way is like through your body. So like, let's say you just make a simple rule, like my feet have to stay still, but I start moving the rest of my body and there's no other limitations. I just keep moving, my feet stay still. You're going to start creating something eventually. And I find that instead of like focusing on negativity and what you don't feel like doing, just by choosing a simple creative activity, you can often like knock depression out of your head. Do you guys ever like come up with strategies to fight depression? Like, do you take some kind of supplement or something, or obviously you probably exercise a lot of the time, because we know that works, right?
Yeah.
That works real good.
Yeah.
There's plenty of science about that, but not really on like, they say it doesn't matter what you do, but I say it does matter what you do. Of course it matters how you exercise. I mean, look at all the ways you can move your body and all the types of energy you can put into moving your body, right? Like, so to me, like, if I go and do heavy weights, that might kind of shake me out of it, but it might just kind of beat me down a little bit more, you know?
Yeah, there is something weird about like the stress thing, like testing your stress levels before you, like, so to me, it's like, I don't know how much I believe it, or I'm sure it's like true, but exceptions. Like, so if like, okay, you didn't sleep very much last night, you're stressed about all these things going on. Well, stress is stress, so you shouldn't do some high intensity CrossFit, go till you puke kind of workout, because you already have too much stress.
Sure.
But the way I think is, well, maybe that is what you need. I don't, not necessarily the go till you puke kind of thing. I don't believe that. But some like high intensity kind of thing, or like, because if you're like frustrated and stuff, and then it's like, okay, well then you need to go to yoga class. Well, then I'm just gonna be frustrated at yoga class.
Right.
I need to get out, but maybe I need to go to like the martial arts class,
Sure.
have some physical contact, beat somebody up, get beat up myself, get thrown down. There's something about that physical contact with someone else that helps that kind of like relieves that stress. Like that's like just what you need. But there was I think that, like, going back to like the community thing, like, so where we all meet and we go hang out in the woods and start like doing stuff, and it's not like we have this exact plan for, we're going to lift this rock and then we'll walk a little bit and then we'll lift this log and we'll jump here.
Sure.
We just go out and it's like this improvising thing. Like you said, you have all these people doing whatever they feel like, and then somebody's like, oh cool, I want to do that. Somebody puts a log on their shoulders, and next thing you know, you look around and everybody has logs on their shoulders. Or like, and like
everybody's got logs on their shoulders.
and so like after we came back like the last time, it was like so fun. It was so cool. Nobody got hurt. Everybody was, well, yeah, like a little panic thing, but nothing too bad. It only lasted a few days. But like everybody, like that, like the fun from that lasted. So even like days later, I'm still like, man, that was so fun.
Yeah.
Where if like if you do something like somebody like, I don't smoke or drink or anything, but like somebody like, oh, they smoke a joint, they felt better, they had a good time. Well, then it's over. And so you're not, most people I don't think are looking back at like, man, 3 days ago I smoked a joint and it was so fun, or I had like this.
I never thought about that before.
And I used to smoke weed and like drink and stuff, but I don't anymore. But I can like look back at like the fun times we had perfectly sober. And I don't care if other people smoke weed or drink. It's not about that. But it's like that fun lasts, and that I guess antidepressant or whatever. I'm not like a real depressed kind of guy, but there are like sometimes when I get home, like maybe from hanging out with people, or I'm hanging out with this like friend of mine, and I come home, and then it's like now I'm like by myself, and then it's like okay, so I turn the TV on. It's like I'm really interested in this TV show. It's just that these like I'll turn like there's like Friends, Seinfeld, and then like How I Met Your Mother and stuff. Like, it's like this series of TV shows that come on that are just on, and I'm messing with my phone or whatever. But it's just like that's kind of like keeping me company. Like where without that, I might be just like alone in my thoughts, maybe kind of getting maybe not like so down, but not like having as good of a time as like with somebody else, or like by myself. So I've lived by myself most of my adult years. I've lived with a couple women and stuff, but a few women. But like I noticed that like, or I'll send like a message to somebody, and like as long as like there's that message back. But if you send the message to somebody, they don't get back with you that night, then it just like there's like that vacuum there. It's like even if they just like some like kind of like response, just makes that little bit of that somebody that they're like tuning into you makes a big difference. Like there's like the improvisational movement kind of stuff, but then like the fighting the like lonely or whatever that we have in, because we all live alone, right? You all like
yeah. I mean,
so
I have a 4-year-old most of the time.
Yeah, but you're no longer with your mom. So like skulls on.
Community support. It's interesting to look at depression. It's always interesting to me. I don't know what this has to do with depression, but I feel like going there somehow. I keep lifting like heavier and doing more things again, and like sometimes I encounter pain, and sometimes this pain seems higher up on the scale, and you would think like, people always talk about rest, and I'm a huge proponent of resting. Meditation is a part of resting to me. Jumping in ice water, baths, all this stuff. I'm a huge proponent of rest. At the same time, it's always so interesting to me is when like I have an ankle pain, or elbow pain, that I'll go in and I'll like do bench press or triceps works. I'll do like calf raises, and then for the rest of the day, my ankle will feel amazing. And maybe the next day until I do something unconscious with it again. But it's not stopping. It's not like being in a depressed mind state and saying that, I'm hurt, I'm in pain, so I don't need to do anything. I need to rest. But it always seems like today is one of my off days, right? And I'm not working out today. And my ankle feels a little bit, because again, I did some pretty unconscious stuff with weightlifting, basketball, and all that. But when I go in tomorrow and I do workout and I do ankle stretches, whatever, like I'm going to feel better. I know this. And it's just always so interesting, because like my whole programming and even what I hear people say to this day is like rest. And trust me, I understand that concept. Yeah. But I think like with depression, then that goes back to me about depression. The story with, the mother of my child. And it's like during those times that are the hardest, stopping is not getting me healthier. It's doing something that feels so I feel like depression is like, I used to have thoughts about depression as far as what I thought it meant. I still don't know exactly what it is. Again, I am healthier with this. I can't say that, clinically diagnosed. Yes, I have been clinically diagnosed depressive, manic depressive in my past. Am I that now? I don't necessarily think I would be diagnosed to the severity that I was in the past. This is something also that, because of my daughter, this is the only reason I'm gonna say that, because we're talking about my daughter here. So I believe in DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid, that being the building blocks of all humans, that carrying around the character traits of our mothers and fathers, and so we are this. Some people might not believe in DNA. I believe in DNA. So, she has her mother that has severe depression, and she has a father that struggles with depression. So again, my whole thing is like, what does that mean? And how do I, give that knowledge to my daughter so that she understands this is what this is, and this is how I get through this. Or how I don't even let it happen to begin with. So, during those times that were the worst, like, it's reaching out and saying, like you said about talking. I've never done that where I've just talked and talked. That sounds like a great thing to do.
Oh man, especially if you film it.
Oh my goodness!
Oh boy, that's a trip.
And make a podcast out of it.
Make a podcast.
but I feel like it's something like depression is like just like a hole. It's like just a hole. Like if you're walking in the street and there's a hole, like it's not a bad thing. Like a hole being there is not a bad. Why is a hole a bad? Like just the hole itself.
You think it's good to like climb in sometimes? Like sometimes you just need to get out of the wind for a second and just climb in the hole.
Maybe.
I think it might be
spiritually.
Man. Yeah, I see a lot of people
natural.
trying to pretend like they're not in the hole, and I'm like,
ooh, geez.
And it's kind of ugly. I'm like, you don't have to do that, man. Just it's okay. There's a lot of beautiful, sad songs out there.
Yeah,
that's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, like I was talking, I think on one of the shows about, it was like it was called The Wounded Healer, and like there's like John Lee Hooker has a song, and like the blues is a healer, and so it's like people writing these sad songs, but it's not like, here, I want to make you sad. Let me play this sad song for you.
Yeah. It's
people hear the blues and it makes them feel better.
Yeah.
But it's just, some guy's heart is ripped out and like there's no money to pay the rent, and his wife left him, and his dog died.
Oh, dang.
No
That's
money.
Real.
And
That's real. That's real.
All this stuff is going wrong, but it has like a nice beat to it. Or whatever. All the blues is a heartbeat. Boom, 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 boom. A lot of blues is that heartbeat.
Yeah.
And somehow it makes you feel better. And so songs like John Lee Hooker saying the blues is a healer. And he pretty much just repeats that in different ways over and over and over through the whole song. But there's something about like knowing that somebody else, you're not the only one going through it. It's like, and I read in these other books that or this guy 800 years ago, Rumi, put this together. Oh man, he said it so well. I'll just read that. So instead of me trying to I'm saying my thing and then I'm reading what he wrote. But there's something about these, knowing that other people are going through these states, and then that kind of like lifts you out of it in a way. And some of the depression, it's hormonal. Like people, like soldiers coming back with post-traumatic stress disorder, severe depression. Well, a lot of it is brain damage, but they might not think, well, I didn't take like a big blow to the head, but there's percussion from the explosions and stuff. So you are getting your head rattled.
Yeah.
And people often will have these things happen to their head that they don't quite remember. And it might not seem like a big deal at the time. It's not like some boxer punched you in the head really hard and knocked you out, and they're like, oh yeah, that's what caused it, obviously. Roller coaster could cause it. I mean, there's all kinds of things that can, and so it can mess up your hormones. And so what some doctors are doing is, instead of like, oh, you're depressed, I'm going to prescribe you this antidepressant. It's like, oh, you had this brain damage and it's messing with your testosterone. You have low testosterone. That's what's causing the depression. So instead of giving you Prozac, we're going to give you testosterone.
Interesting.
And then you're like feeling better because you have more testosterone, you're not depressed. And so that was the problem, not you're not making this happy chemical. It's a hormonal thing, and it's kind of a different way. So like when we're looking at these different like movements, and so we know from our exercise science that our hormones start changing. You want to release more growth hormone. You can lift heavy, be more explosive, be more that way. And then you can control your own hormones. And then if there's a real problem, which certainly exists, that might need medical intervention, like maybe that's a good place to ask your doctor, hey, instead of just saying, I'm depressed, can you prescribe me some Prozac? Which I think happens way too much. It's maybe, can we start with my testosterone levels first? You know, maybe there's a different way, because that seems to be like a thing. So when we're like doing this, like so it's not like when we're out playing in the woods, it's not like we're all just like sad, even though like, you know, maybe like times like it might be weird for a few dudes to talk about being sad sometimes. Like when we're not out there, it's like we're all just sitting around being sad together. We're out there having fun. So like at first, like you were saying, like asking for like permission to start playing around. You know, it's not like they're at my playground and they're asking me if they can use. You know, we're out in the woods. It's not mine. It's not my anything. But just get like that. Get permission to start. Flowing around, be like, okay, he's doing this, and some of the people aren't as used to the woods. Maybe we are, and they're like, oh, we can do this. Oh, we can do like pull-ups. We can climb this. Steve starts climbing the tree like a rope. That's crazy. Like that was cool.
That's crazy.
And
so strong. Yeah, that's cool, man. It's interesting to evaluate like what we're doing out there on a hormonal thing. Like we're lifting up the logs, right, and then rocks and stuff. So we know that is going to cause an increase in testosterone, become something heavy. And then we're also traveling like in a group of people, and we're all like, you know, without even thinking about it, we're like spacing ourselves out in a certain way. Like when we walk from one place to another, there's a certain grouping. And my understanding is like when you see like a flock of birds all flying together, that's like serotonin. That's doing that. So like not only are we picking up heavy shit and getting our T levels high, but we're also experiencing this feeling of connectedness, which I believe if we were able to somehow put sensors on all our heads as we're walking through the woods, that we would see some kind of change in our serotonin levels in the brain.
Oxytocin as well.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it's interesting. And then there's like some sort of when it all comes to coherence. Is that the word I'm trying to think of? Coherence, like where we're like maybe all of our like, so like starting out, we're all of our brain waves are different. We're all firing on different.
Coherence. You're right.
And then when we get together, like at first everybody's kind of like firing at different levels, and then once we're 15 minutes into the woods, there's like so like maybe like at first like being like you're saying like branching off, so like maybe like you're out with like you're talking to like Eve about something, and I'm with JP and we're back here like and then I'm talking with her and he's talking with you, and like it's like these groups like change like kind of connection thing, but like we're all in this like thing together. So even though I might be messing around with this log and Steve's climbing the tree, it's still like this together thing. And it's something like this like bond. We get like this like dopamine and stuff, like when we look and somebody else liked our post, like we get that little dopamine shot. And it's like it feels good. And,
I don't know if that's good or not sometimes.
But but we get like it's like it's just cool how it works, because even though like somebody, I find it through like martial arts too, where you can just meet somebody and you're trying to figure out your similarities, like, okay, well, what do we have in common, and like how can like as guys there's like some like how do we like respect each other at these like different levels, and it's like, okay, cool, he can do this and I can't, so that's cool. And then you can't do that either, but you can do this and he can't, and that's cool. So we each have our own, not like a healthy competition. It's like if you're in Like with martial arts, you know, like we were talking about like the basketball, like if somebody's going to be really aggressive, if they're going to give you space, like it's good to have like all of that where we have these like challenges where there's something about that makes the experience like more like complete.
Well, even like there's this concept of like synergy, and there's this guy named Devin Moore, Divine Transformations, and you know, when he said that really like from the yogic world and sphere, you know, synergy, when we have coherence, when we have teamwork, and that's why I love basketball. That's why you know, I never played when I was younger, but immediately I gravitated toward that concept. That was when I am on a team of people, when we're in synergy, as far as we have people that everyone, when people see my strengths, and they might say, you know, I'm on a team, and they might say, well, JP can get some great rebounds. You know, they might say JP can shoot the three a little bit, and if he misses, that's okay.
He'll get the rebound.
But let me catch. But you know, JP can, you know, cut and drive. So when he cuts and drive, let me, you know, I have a great passer, right, who can pass me the ball as I'm cutting, and I have my man on the outside, and it's so easy and effortlessly, and everybody's running, right? Everybody's running, everybody's moving, everyone feels the energy of the basketball. Because again, that's one thing that I feel like at any high level, any level at all, but with these gym rec league levels, is everybody wants to touch the ball. Everyone wants to touch the ball. When everyone can do that, just feel the ball a little bit, they're much more open to just giving it away, because they just touched it, they just feel it. And so a lot of these guys that are more talented offensively, they, you know, when they're upset at other people, you know, missing or not doing the part, whatever, then they go AWOL, they go rogue, they go hero mode, and they do stuff themselves. Well, the game's lost a lot because they're not finding all the open people. They're not even open to finding other people. So, you know, what I saw with, you know, the Golden State Warriors, which is always so cool to me, you know, with Steph Curry, they won the championship last year. They won back-to-back. They beat LeBron James. They were able to get this guy, Kevin Durant. And Kevin Durant had problems on his last team with him and Russell Westbrook binding. And so this team that already won a championship, this guy, Steph Curry, who was the MVP, was the face of the franchise, was able to say, this guy, Kevin Durant, he's a shooter. He's a prolific offensive talent, and we can win if I just give him the freaking ball. Yeah. And he did that, and they won. And Kevin Durant was so happy with being with a team that embraced him. He made the team better, and the team worked with him and made him a part of the team. And so, anyway, we're just like us sitting here together. You know, I feel like everyone has just such a great open heart. You inviting us into your home. Joey, with his awesome open heart, as being, you know, doing what he does and just being like a stand-up nice guy. I can't say anything about myself, but I feel like, you know, this whole thing about like teamwork and synergy, we can utilize this together on a personal level. It does great for our personal relationships. And we can do it on a business level. It's great for our business relationships. So, and again, all this about coherence, which is real. You know, all this about synergy and chemical compounds and all this stuff. This is all real. It's cool stuff.
Yeah, it's amazing how it all works. And like the basketball team, which it's been a long time since I really kept up with basketball. I used to want to be a professional, and I'd pretend to be Michael Jordan and all that stuff. But yeah, how it all have our strengths. It doesn't have to be like some kind of like it's like healthy competition, and like fill in without a community thing. And that's one thing I wanted to like keep emphasizing. And we've been doing it too. Like people are reaching out already. You're talking about people are contacting you because they want to be part of this group. And so people are like, they feel like they're on the outside. They don't know us. They're intimidated. They see a big log on our backs. Like, oh, I can't pick up a log that big. Or they see Steve climbing up this tree with like a, or they see you doing something crazy. Like you don't have to have any kind of high level of anything. Like to come out, like hang out in the woods with us and try what you try. And so people like don't hesitate. Like if you want to join the Indie Strength and Movement Community Facebook group, and then put a post on there. You can send a message. I think if you send a message on there, or at least give a post, then we can put you in our Instagram group, and we'll let you know where we're going to be. And because it's really fun, and the more people, the better. And it's not like anybody's in charge. I'm not in charge. Joey's not in charge.
Yeah, we're
and
sharing energy, you know. So just bring a little bit, and you're welcome. And that's all you need is just come and have a good time. And you're gonna be smiling, feeling great by the time you leave. And no one's trying to get anything from you. We don't expect a thing. We're just hanging out. So it's
well, we can start to wrap it up. We've been going for. Does anybody have like? Take some like little closing thought from each of you, and then we'll get on with our.
I this was amazing. I'm again so grateful. Thank you, Ryan, for inviting me personally. Thank you for letting me be a part of this with Joey, and I think this podcast is freaking awesome. I hope that people continue to listen, continue to check it out. I hope that it continues to grow. Outside of myself, I believe in both fitness and consciousness, and creating a platform for that and creating growth within that. That's all this is about, man. I think this is the super coolest thing.
I just want to reiterate that. Thanks, man. This is just super comfy in here, and just coming together on a day like this. It's a Sunday, the week's about to start, and just having a nice, peaceful conversation about ideas that people don't really talk about. And you didn't set any parameters at the beginning. You're like, hey guys, like, don't talk about depression. That's too deep. You just let it flow. And I just appreciate that space, man. It's really important.
Yeah, thanks. I'm glad you guys both were able to make it. And my idea is like going forward, because I'm I think February 6th makes 1 year for the podcast.
Oh,
this is episode 85.
Woo!
Yeah, man.
It's been surreal when I look back at the guest list, and this is Joey's third time on now, JP's second. And my idea going forward is to have people on regularly, have like the same people on regularly. So maybe we do this, like try to do this like once a month, or maybe it's 5 weeks, maybe it's 3 times this month, but to have people on regular. One of the most, not that it matters a whole lot, is like the scheduling is kind of tough. And when I'm always like looking for somebody new, which I'm going to keep doing that. But like, for instance, I'm talking to somebody, she's in Indonesia. So there's a 12-hour time difference. So there's scheduling stuff is kind of difficult, but also I think it's cool from, not that I mind that it always ends up working out, but like to have people, the same people come on. So if you guys want to come on regularly, however often that means, like, I have an idea, then people can like the audience can get to know you more. And though I'm not just trying to have somebody different every single time, it's like when I see like these other podcasts, like Joe Rogan, he has the same people on regularly. There's always like somebody new, and then there's always like people coming on over and over and over again. So you get to like dig more into their thinking. So even though we've been on for, I don't know, a couple hours or whatever, there's a whole lot more that, digging into you. And that's more, it's very interesting to do that, to get deeper into like what somebody's thinking, and the audience can like get to know people like so you guys have an open invitation to come on.
Thanks, man.
And it's pretty amazing, like looking at the map of who's listening. it blows my mind. So thanks everyone for listening. Again, Indie Strength and Movement Community on Facebook, and that is that's if you're in Indianapolis. If you're not in Indianapolis area, if you're somewhere, I know people listen from all over the world, if you don't see a community like that, start one, because there's I guarantee you there's people that are close to you that are looking for people to hang out with, and they're just looking for an invitation, and they're looking for some kind of outlet for whatever they want to do. And maybe it's not going out to the woods and climbing trees. Maybe it's going out to the woods and just walking around. Maybe it's going and just sitting and having tea. Maybe people can like bond over all kinds of stuff. So maybe there's tea. There's, like trying this ginger tea today. Maybe next time we'll try this other kind of tea. Whatever it is that it's not about the tea. It's not about the woods. It's about the people getting together, and that makes a huge difference. I know it makes a huge difference for me. So thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you next time.
All right.
See you guys.
Thank you. See you.
Oh man, bathroom.
Oh man. That's fun, man.
Yeah, good show.